I am here today with Kevin Mochel, who is the owner and founder of 180 Your Marketing. Appreciate you agreeing to chat with me today and also for offering the use of your studio.
Yeah, I appreciate and I'm honored that you asked me to be on today.
Kevin did a class yesterday, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but some fantastic information. So happy that he agreed to sit down and talk about it a little bit further. So why don't we start with the background or the origin story of 180 Your Marketing and how you got started and why?
Yeah, so little different tack than a lot of marketing professionals here in Kansas City. I've been in the insurance field and owned an insurance agency and been an insurance agent for almost 30 years. My wife and I started our second insurance agency back kind of at the end of 2017, 2018, and I kind of wanted to do a little bit different approach with that insurance agency, and the fact that I wanted to approach this from just doing home, auto, life insurance as an independent agent because it was something that we could replicate the service over and over and over again and then scale that agency. But I had a caveat with my wife, who was my partner, and I said, I don't want to sell insurance. So what I want to do is I want to be the marketing arm for the insurance agency. I will bring in leads and you will then take those leads, you'll sell them. And so how did I start to bring in leads? I figured, well, the best source of leads is real estate agents and mortgage lenders. Right. So I started doing marketing classes, 5 years ago roughly. And those marketing classes were geared for real estate agents and lenders, and I wanted to provide value so in turn they would maybe give us leads for the insurance agency. And we did that for a period of time, and I started to have people ask me, can you do our marketing? And I said, no. And that went on and on and on, and I thought, yeah, I do want to do your marketing. And so we started doing, just as kind of a side thing, some marketing for some real estate agents, and then that quickly evolved into a full-time company, which is 180 Your Marketing.
So who is your ideal client? I mean, you kind of addressed that, but who's your ideal client and what do you do for them?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of real estate agents and lenders here in Kansas City. We do also work with some other non-real estate related small businesses and small business owners. But what we primarily do is we do branding work, we do social media work where we will create and then post on their behalf on whatever social media platforms they want content on. And then we've got a stipulation that if you're gonna work with us, we're gonna make you do video. Because so many people know they need to do video, but they are so hesitant when all of a sudden that little red light goes off on the camera, right? And so we've developed over the years processes and procedures so that you can come in, you can make great videos, and you can do it to where we can coach you past some of the fears that you may have when it comes to, sitting down and doing videos. So we help people with scripts and all sorts of different things and coaching different techniques so that they're comfortable on camera.
Yeah, we'll definitely circle back to the video piece, but just in general, and I think that's probably a big piece of it, but what does marketing look like for a real estate agent in 2024?
In most markets, especially here in Kansas City, there's so much competition with real estate agents. I mean, here in KC, we've got, 14,000 roughly licensed real estate agents within the Heartland NMLS, which is a big area, right? But there's so much competition. Marketing needs to look like, how can you come across as a professional, someone that's easily relatable, but more importantly, someone that is top of mind when someone decides that they need to buy or sell a home. Because, when it comes to buying and selling homes, that's like this much of their life, Greg. I mean, it's such a small part of their life. So real estate agents need to be really, really aggressive and proactive on the marketing and the branding side. So when that moment happens in that prospect's life, that real estate professional is top of mind.
Right. We've both seen and heard the statistics about how many people had a great experience with their agent or with their lender, and then what percentage of those people actually use the same agent or same lender again, which is low.
It's really low.
Which is exactly because of what you just said. We're not top of mind when that time comes that they're ready to go.
Yeah, and that could be various different reasons, but the statistics are 20 to 40% of people use the same real estate agent or the same lender again, and it's abysmal percentages.
Right, because like 80% after the transaction say, yeah, it was great, I'll use them again.
Yeah.
And then 20 to 40% actually end up doing that. So have you seen any changes in marketing in the last year or so?
You know, when it comes to marketing, and we'll talk about social media marketing because that's kind of, I think, what we're seeing the biggest changes on right now. We see kind of people getting away from doing maybe some of the fun and trendy type of videos that have really been the rage for Instagram Reels and TikToks and stuff over the past 4 years. And they're really starting to kind of pivot, and they're starting to find their own voice and their own style and do videos that people really, really can relate to. 2 or 3 years ago, it wouldn't be uncommon for someone to get started with their marketing and get started with, let's say, video, and they may come out and they just may point at some text bubbles and not really say anything because they were trying to get confidence and feel comfortable on the camera. And we've seen a big, big shift to where people are really starting to make their own original content, and it could just be a talking head educational video, but they found their voice and they found their style. And so we're seeing a lot more of that going forward, which I absolutely love.
So you expect that to continue?
I do.
Trend in that direction?
Yeah, I do.
Less dancing and more...
yeah, you know, a guy like me, I never could dance. So yeah, the more we get away from that, the better it's going to be. But no, I see a shift into that. And I also see a shift into people really starting to go with more long-form video content. And so I think the social media aspect, like posting the pictures and the memes and things like that we've seen for years on Facebook and Instagram, that hasn't changed very much. I don't anticipate that's going to change too much. We've seen a lot of changes on the video front, and I'm seeing a lot more people go into long-form content, whether that be something like this with an interview or educational type of content, or even a long-form kind of vlog of what your day or your week looks like.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
Day in the life of
exactly.
Of Kevin.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
So, well, yeah. And it's something I've been wanting to do for years, and I just haven't gotten that camera and followed me around for a day. So.
Yeah. So you did a class yesterday on building a personal. Clarify the difference between a personal brand and, say, a corporate brand?
Yeah. So corporate brands, you think of the big corporations. Corporate brands a lot of times are also tied in or pretty synonymous, not always, but a lot with products that brand puts out. So let's think Nike shoes, Coca-Cola, Bud Light, whatever it is, they have products. And when it comes especially to service-based businesses like you're in, like I'm in, like real estate agents are in, where we don't have a product, we are selling our service, we don't have a business brand per se. We really have our personal brand. And so that is one of the big differences, because our business brand is our personal brand. We can't go out in public and differentiate between our business brand and our personal brand. There's just too much overlap, because people want to work with Greg because they like your service, they like your attitude, they relate to you. These are all personal attributes, and so there's just too much overlap. And so I always say that if you're in a business like what you're in, or a real estate agent, you don't have a business brand, it is your personal brand.
And so how important is it for a real estate agent to have a personal brand?
Yeah. Everyone has a personal brand, regardless of what you do. I mean, if you're a cashier at a grocery store, you have a brand, whether you like it or not. Everyone has one. Mm-hmm. But as business professionals, I think it's extremely important that we need to really work to focus on building a positive personal brand that we can then leverage for business use and attract. And not only attract, but retain customers. There's so many different aspects on what makes a brand, what we do and what we don't do, and what we say and what we don't say, which falls into the service category of our business. If that's really, really strong, then instead of 20 or 40% of people reusing us down the road when they need to, let's say, buy another home, hopefully that percentage is going to go way, way up.
So I had a follow-up question on why is it important, and that's basically it. It's not just about bringing in new business, but it's also about retaining the clients that you already have. Yeah, if you can take that 40% to 80, I mean, that's double.
Yeah, it's double.
Math.
Yeah, and and in this really crowded, busy world where there's so much content that's being thrown out, and people are almost becoming just tuned out to everything, we've got to have that strong personal brand to bring in new clients as well. Because, I mean, let's think about it. People that you see online, people that you feel that you know and you trust, let's say just like Oprah, for example. Mm-hmm. You probably never met Oprah, but a lot of people trust Oprah. And, if Oprah says read this book or buy this product, There's a lot of people that will run out and buy the product or read the book, right? And that is because she has cultivated such a strong personal brand over the years. And the same thing holds true for you or me or real estate agents. We need to be out there with that strong personal brand to retain business, but also we want people to know us, like us, and start to trust us before they physically even meet us. It just makes life so much easier and work so much easier.
When you were talking, a relationship is the word that came to mind. So, it's not just about, hey, look at me. It's letting people know,
Yeah.
this is what I do, but here's who I am. And you see those people like Oprah or even our local TV weather people
Yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is, and you feel like you know those people. I've never had an interaction, but if I see somebody, it's like, I've watched you for
Yeah.
years or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, and so you've been in the mortgage business a long time, right? How many years? A lot.
25.
25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your business is built on what? Relationships, right?
Right.
And so when you get a referral, let's say from a real estate agent or from a past customer, it's because of that relationship that you build. So it all ties back into personal brand. Whether we want to associate personal brand to that or not, at the end of the day, really, it all is kind of mishmashed into that.
Right, yeah. And like any relationship, you got to keep working on it. And
Yeah.
so this is, I guess, saying in a roundabout way, a way to keep nurturing those relationships.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And so you said something in your class that I think is right, but it also is like, oh gosh, yeah. You said better known beats best.
Better known beats best.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. There's exceptions to everything, and there are exceptions to that phrase, but that's a phrase that I have really, really promoted for the past 5 years. So I teach 2 to 4 classes every single month, and almost every single class I lead with that quote because I'm so passionate about it. But if you, as a mortgage lender, if you have a product that no other competitor has, and it is hands down the best mortgage product in the industry. It's got the lowest interest rate, the lowest bar of entry to get into that product. Everyone would do business with you, right?
Right.
Unless no one knows about it and no one knows about you.
Right.
So you can be the best at what you do, you can have the best product, but if you aren't better known, if you aren't known out there and people know about you or your product, it doesn't really at the end of the day matter, right?
Right. And that's the reason I say it's kind of an eye-opener because, I take pride in I'm good at what I do. I care about my clients. I do a great job. So I think I'm one of the best. But at the end of the day, if nobody knows me,
Yeah.
I'm not the best for those people that never know about me.
Yeah, and if you become better known and you do a really solid job like you have over the past 25 years, Greg, how much more business would you have?
Right. So how can an agent or lender, but how can an agent brand themselves in today's world?
Yeah, so they really need to sit down and they need to spend a little bit of time, kind of like what we did in class yesterday, really doing a self-analysis and really kind of getting in up here and even a little bit into here and figuring out who they are. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, but when it comes to developing a brand, you've got to figure out what makes you different. Okay, what makes you different from your competitors, what makes you different from other people, and what makes you special? Why are you you? And these are really hard things for a lot of people to sit down and come up with. It could be that you need to go and you need to sit down with someone and have them draw that out of you, a friend or family member or something like that. But you've got to figure out who it is that you are and what makes you different, okay? And your personal brand is what makes you different. All of these things come into your personal brand. And if you attend a personal branding class, a lot of times really, and I've done this numerous times, all they talk about is your logo, your brand colors, those type of things. Right. But to me, your personal brand is you. Who are you? Why do people want to have a relationship or not have a relationship with you? That's your personal brand.
Right. Yeah. And so do you think it's different for a brand new agent versus somebody that's been in the business for 20, 25 years as far as their marketing?
I do, because I think someone that's been in the business for even just 5 or 6 years, they've got a pretty good idea what it is they do every single day, what the interactions they have with their customers are, kind of maybe hopefully what some of that customer feedback is, areas that they excel in, maybe some areas that they don't excel in. They know the business. So I think it's a little easier in some regards for someone that's experienced and a veteran in the industry versus someone that's new and just starting out, because that person really doesn't understand the industry, they don't understand the clients, they don't quite fully understand the value that they can bring to a transaction. And so there's a steeper learning curve. And as they learn, as they get more experience, that'll now become part of their brand. But they can't really weave that into their personal brand on day one because they don't have all the answers.
Right. So when you're helping people, what marketing channels are they using?
It depends on the individual, and it depends on the age demographic of the individual. So I'm going to group us together, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent from an age standpoint, Greg. But, we're probably Facebook, maybe some Instagram, LinkedIn, right? Whereas someone that's maybe 25 years younger than us, they may be Instagram and TikTok, those type of things. And so when it comes to what marketing platforms you should be on from, let's say, a social media standpoint, it's the ones you want to be on. It's the ones where your prospects are going to be, and the ones where you're comfortable and you like spending time on it. So if you've got a platform, let's say like Twitter or X now, and you don't like Twitter or X, don't be on Twitter or X.
Right.
Because if you don't like it, you're not going to put any time into it, you're not going to engage with other people, so on and so forth. So there's no one perfect platform, there's no right or wrong platform. I just say pick a couple, more than one, but pick a couple, and it's the ones you want to be on.
Got it.
That you enjoy being on.
Got it. So does an agent need to be on all of the platforms?
There's a lot of talking heads out there that say you're making content, put them out everywhere, right? So one of my mentors and idols, someone I trust that I've never met because of his personal brand, is Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, who's out there. And, Gary's one of those guys that for years and years and years, he says, you need to be putting out 15 to 30 pieces of content every single day on all the platforms. And I don't really fall into that category, even though I really like Gary. I don't believe in that, because to me, I think you need to be on the platforms you enjoy being on and that you're going to spend some time on, and so on and so forth. But the other way to look at it is, let's say if you start making video content and you're making short form vertical content for Instagram Reels or for TikTok or Facebook Reels, put that on as many platforms as you can. But at the end of the day, we're not social media people. Well, I am. Most people aren't social media people as a career, and so they can't be spending all of their time just dumping content out on the platform. Pick a minimum two. If you can be on 5 or 6 and do it without a ton of work, that's great. But pick a minimum two.
Got it. So how often should an agent post?
In today's world, almost every day. Which I know a lot of people don't want to hear, and I get that, but almost every single day, because on most platforms, let's take Facebook. If you've got 1,000 friends on Facebook or 1,000 followers on Facebook, if you put out a piece of content today, maybe 100 are going to see it, right? And so if you're only putting out content 2 times a week, you're really, really missing a lot of opportunities to get in front of people, because the algorithm's not going to show that content to everyone in your follower or your friends list. So the more we put out, the more we're going to get seen. And there's a misconception that people think, well, if I put out too much content, people are going to get burned out, they're going to stop following me or unfriend me. Because there's so much content in the world today, I don't think that's really going to happen, because people have learned to tune a lot of this out. They just kind of mindlessly scroll, and if they see our face, great. That's a good thing, but they're not paying that close of attention to where they're going to get sick of our content.
Right. And you talked about this a little bit, but what should an agent post?
Yeah, so it's going to be, I think, a mix today. And I like to see some educational content. I like to see maybe some community content, especially if it's a real estate agent. I think that's really, really important. I like to see some content just about them personally, whether it's little pics or clips of a family outing or a lunch or whatever, because this is where people really can start to relate to you. Because if all you do is you get up there 7 days a week and you talk about educating people on real estate, there's no way people are going to make that personal connection with you.
I gotcha. Yeah. So, video. How important is video?
Super important. Super important. That is the medium of our world right now, and more so even going forward. If you're not making video, you're really missing that opportunity for people to make a connection with you before you physically meet them, because that's where they get to hear you, see you, and that's why, at the very beginning I said I'm so excited, because one of the shifts we've seen is people are starting to really find their own voice and their own style when it comes to video content today. And I've got a lot of clients that have brought in prospects, gotten referrals and things like that once they started doing video, because it just reinforces relationships or starts relationships, even if you haven't physically met someone, that you don't get with just pictures.
Right, yeah, or text.
Or text, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What videos work? What types of videos are working?
Yeah, so we'll tie into the content piece. Educational videos, community videos, I think are really, really strong. We're starting to see a lot of people get into a lot more long form type of content, whether that's interviews, whether that's community type of things, where they're talking about a certain area in town, a certain neighborhood, or that could be doing podcasts, recording the podcast. But what we're seeing like in 2024 right now, which kind of surprised me a little bit, is people are making extremely short videos. 5 to 15 seconds long. No talking, which I don't like, but these actually work and they play really, really well right now. And it's maybe them just sitting at a computer typing and then a little bit of text on the screen, but then a very long description, which is either talking about themselves, maybe talking about overcoming something in their business, a challenge that they overcame, giving some type of tip or educational piece. But just these little tiny clips, maybe a little bit of music. Anyone could do it, right? Anyone could do it. I could put a camera up there right now and just get a clip of us talking, strip the audio out, put some music on it. That would actually work as long as the description was
What's
playing
in
well.
the caption is
It's in
where
the
the
caption,
message
yeah.
is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
And
interesting.
that stuff is playing super, super well right now.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I might have to give that a try. So, for those people who are a little bit intimidated by video, do you have any tips or tricks? Or
Yeah, so a couple things, and everyone's a little different. I've recorded probably over 1,500 videos for real estate agents over the years. And these are not of houses or listings, this is actually of people.
Right.
Number one tip is, if you're gonna talk about something, know what you're going to talk about, because if you're not confident on what you're going to talk about, that's going to come across poorly on the camera. People will immediately pick up on that. Number two, and a lot of people do this, a lot of people here in Kansas City do this, including even a couple of my clients, they don't watch the videos. They record them, they post them, or we record them, we post them, they don't watch them because they get too overly critical. And so a thing to think about is, if you're really worried about how you look, how you're going to sound on camera, which is, I think, the two biggest hurdles, I tell people this. Number one, there's only maybe two people in this world that are going to care what you look like or what you sound like on camera. Number one would be you.
Right.
Number two would be your mother. And then maybe, I'll throw in a third, maybe your teenage daughter if you have a teenage daughter.
yeah,
But no one else really cares about how you look or how you sound.
Right.
Because let's think about it. If you sit down with a customer and you're working on a mortgage loan application, for example, do you think to yourself, Greg, oh my gosh, I wonder what I look like, I wonder how I sound? No, you don't, right?
Right.
So why do we get so caught up when all of a sudden there's a camera in the room?
Yeah, I mean,
It's the same thing.
I look like what I look like.
Yeah.
So they're going to figure that out sooner or later
There you
anyway.
go.
So we might as well
There you go.
just put it out there. But yeah, I think we're our own worst critics.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I've had this talk with my three daughters over the years. Maybe they've got a pimple. It's like, first of all, people are worried about their own stuff. They're not paying attention to you. So
No.
nobody's really going to care.
Yeah, I will say this, because there's some people out there on the internet that probably shouldn't be on the internet. And maybe you put something out and you get a rude comment. I heard this and oh gosh, a couple years ago, and I love it. But if someone's going to criticize you online, okay, that means that they're always doing less than you, because someone that's doing better than you is never going to take the time to criticize you online, right?
Yeah.
And so look at that, brush it off, and honestly, any type of engagement we get on social media, even if someone's criticizing you, saying that you don't look good or you don't sound good or whatever. For example, I had a guy, and it was really funny, I put a video out and I'm a hand talker. And he came back and his comment was, I would never buy anything from you because I don't trust someone that talks that much with their hands. And so I had fun with it, and I had fun with him going back and forth. And what that does is that creates engagement on that post. The algorithm for the platform sees all this engagement, so they start pushing the post out more and more and more. We can use these things sometimes to our advantage.
So it actually helped you in the
It
long
did,
run?
yeah, it really did.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, and I've learned over the years, if there's someone that's going to make a bad comment, say something that's not nice, you may block them, you may ban them, depending on what the comment is. I go back, I have fun with them.
Yeah.
I like to poke the bear sometimes.
For sure. So with all this, it seems sometimes like a lot of effort. Can an agent actually get business from social media?
They can. So social media is largely viewed as just a way to kind of reinforce and put your brand out there. And depending on your content, that may be all you're doing. And so if you're out there and you're doing, let's say, a lot of educational type of content or educational videos, is someone going to pick up the phone and call you on that? Maybe, but not a lot of times, right? You're hopefully building credibility with that person, hopefully becoming more top of mind. But there is content and there is ways to put content out which will actually start to drive leads. And so we've got to rewire up here. If we think that social media is only a tool for promoting our brand, okay, we're not wired correctly. If we approach social media as a tool for generating leads, and we start to kind of reshape our content a little bit so that we are putting out content that is going to get the phone to ring, then all of a sudden magical things start to happen. And there's a lot of people that have figured that out, that social media is a tool for driving leads. Their content's a little bit different, and they get a lot of leads from social media versus someone that thinks, oh, this is just a tool for my brand. If I put something out this week, great. If I forget it, it's not the end of the world, right? For them, they're right, because they're not putting out the right content, because they're not thinking about social media in the right way.
And does it matter what platform? To me, it seems like if somebody goes and watches a 15-minute YouTube video, that's different than somebody scrolling past you on Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah. So YouTube long form, first of all, if they're watching a video on YouTube, they're probably looking for whatever type of content that video is about.
Right.
So they're intentional on their actions. Whereas just like you said on TikTok or Instagram, it's such a quick scroll. Yeah, I do think the lead gen is going to be much, much higher. The conversion is going to be much, much higher on a platform like YouTube. There are ways, especially on TikTok and Instagram, to create very, very short form content that can also start to drive leads as well. Most people don't do that because it takes a lot of planning and thought that goes into it. But once you make that shift, all of a sudden that becomes a lot easier.
So if you could give one piece of advice to an agent about social media, what would it be?
I'm going to give you two. The first one is number one, consistency, because the algorithms will reward consistency. If you put out 5 pieces of content every single week and you're consistent, the algorithms will reward you and start to push that to more people, versus if you put out 2 pieces this week, 5 pieces next week, none the following week, and you're inconsistent. So that's number one. The second piece, and this is, I think, a little bit more important, is we've got to engage with people, okay? So we think of social media as we're going to put content out, we're going to hope the phone rings, right? And if someone hits the heart button or leaves a comment or shares our post, it feels really good. I call them warm fuzzies, right? And so that feels really good. But if all we do is post and ghost and hope that someone is going to engage with us, we are completely missing the mark. Social media is supposed to be social, which means we need to be proactive on engaging with other people. And the algorithms on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they demand that we do that. If we want to be really big on those platforms and we want our stuff shown to a lot of people, we have to go out to other people's content, leave comments, send DMs, share their posts, those type of things. And the algorithms will see us doing that and they will reward us. And so a lot of us, we don't do that, or we don't take the time to do that. And that's the biggest key right now to social media, in my opinion, is the engagement piece.
Yeah, that's good. I think you said that in your class yesterday. Social media. It should be social.
It should be social. Yeah.
Pretty smart, Kevin. Pretty smart. And then
I may have heard that somewhere before, yeah.
when you were talking a little while ago, I wrote down consistency. And now you were just talking about, consistency in posting. But talk about consistency in the way you show up. Maybe you have a personal page and a business page?
Yeah, so we've got to be consistent in all of the marketing channels and all of the platforms with our brand. And so I see this all the time, and it really, to me, kind of breaks my heart in some regards, because I don't think people are thinking that this is hurting them, but at the end of the day it is. So if you've got, let's say, a personal presence out on social media, you're a real estate agent, you've got your business Facebook page and an Instagram page and so on and so forth, and everything looks great and your message is consistent, matches up perfect with your website, that's great. Then all of a sudden you go to their personal Facebook page, which they've created just for their friends and family, but they probably have 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 friends, right? And they're just batshit crazy on that page. And that does not match up with the brand that they're trying to put out there.
Right.
What this is going to do is this is going to create friction. So we live in a world today where everyone's going to vet everyone and everything before we make a purchase. So they're going to vet you and me and the new restaurant they're thinking about going to. They're going to check it out. They're going to look at reviews and so on and so forth. People do that all the time. And so they're going to go, depending on the age demographic, they're going to go to Google, they're going to look at a website, look at a few reviews. But older demographics, for example, they're going to go to Facebook, right? And so they're going to look for, Greg Hall. And all of a sudden they find your business page and they find your personal page, which is only there for friends and family, but you've got stuff that people can see, right? And if they see that you're batshit crazy and all of a sudden it doesn't match everything else they see, it creates friction. And that friction means they're not going to pick up the phone and they're not going to call you. They're going to go on to the next mortgage lender.
Right.
And I see that every single day.
Yeah, there's a word. What is the word? Incongruent. They don't match up. It's like, so you're different. So something just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Seems off. So it's like, which one are you pretending? Are you pretending on your business page, or And so I think people want that. They want to know who you are.
They do. And everything we put out there into the world, we may think it's private. We may think only a certain amount of people are going to see it. People are going to see it one way or another. Someone's going to share it. Whatever the case is, we've got to think before we post.
And you're not saying don't be you.
No.
Listen, if you're batshit crazy, be batshit crazy everywhere, because there's probably people that like that.
Well, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
And so I've passed working on with let's say real estate agents, a couple of them, because they are extremely, let's say, political. And so one actually held office and then became a real estate agent. And it was consistent across all platforms because their views were so extreme. I thought, man, this is not someone I want to work with because they're only going to appeal to a certain segment of the population, and it's going to make my life a whole lot harder, right? As a marketer. And so that's someone I chose not to work with, but you know what, for them, because they were consistent and they weren't trying to hide anything, they're appealing to the demographic that they want to appeal to, so it works for them.
Got it. So is there anything else other than social media that agents should be doing for marketing?
So it's funny, at the end of 23, getting ready to go into 24, I sat down with 20 different real estate agents and I did one-on-ones. And I did this, I didn't charge anything. I wanted to answer questions that they had about marketing, but more importantly, I wanted to learn a little bit kind of what's going on in the market today. And out of those 20 agents, I'm going to say it was 17 or 18 of them were not fully utilizing at all a CRM. Okay? And so you can use social media all day long. You can make videos all day long. But the biggest driver, in my opinion, for leads and commissions is your CRM. And so many people are overlooking that, or they may dump some people into CRM and then not do anything with it. They're not going to fully optimize and build out campaigns and things like that. There are so many dollars inside that CRM if we use it correctly. And so to me, that should be your number one tool from a marketing standpoint, is utilizing your CRM, getting it divided up into your VIPs and maybe everyone else, creating some drip campaigns, some follow-ups, so you're constantly in front of those people. Statistically, out of every 100 people in your CRM, between 7 and 8% of those, I heard 9, and I don't believe it this year because I don't think the market panned out like we thought it was going to. So probably 7, 8% of those people are either going to move or they know someone that's going to move. That's a lot of referrals. If you've got 1,000 people in your CRM, that's 70 or 80.
Right.
That's a really good year,
Yes.
right? And so many people are overlooking that.
Yeah. Now, I've spoken with agents over the years as well, and if I could go back 25 years, knowing what I know now, the one thing that I would do is those past clients, and even past clients that chose somebody else.
Yeah.
Anybody I've met, if I could do one thing different, I wouldn't let those clients slip through the cracks, or those people slip through the cracks, because I believe you're right.
I know agents that are very successful in this town, and they've got databases that are getting hit once a week from them that may be 14,000 people strong. People they've never met, right? Not past clients, but because of online lead generation
Right.
campaigns and different things, they've built up these databases, and it means that now they've got enough leads out there that they can start to build a team and actually give leads to some of their
Right.
team members, and it's just so much money in there. And yet, everyone wants to come to classes and talk about Instagram or TikTok because it's sexy, but if I do a CRM class, very few people come because it's not sexy. But
Yeah.
that's my number one tip or my number one marketing channel.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then from that, you can do everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you see agents doing out there that you wish they'd do differently?
Number one, the engagement piece, because I think that's really, really important. The CRM piece, obviously, we just got done talking about. I think it's really, really important. But I think I want to see agents, from a marketing standpoint, take marketing more seriously.
Right.
I've used this analogy in past classes, but everyone has a couple different hats that they can wear in a day. And a real estate agent wants to wear a real estate agent hat all day long, but really, truly, they should only be wearing that hat when they're working with a prospect or a client, right? Which is not in most cases all day long, unless you've got a few transactions happening at the same time. So if you're not working with a client, let's take the real estate hat on, put the marketing hat on, and let's focus on lead gen. And so I wish people would take the marketing and the lead gen side a little bit more seriously. And I think if they did, we wouldn't see such a high dropout rate for real estate agents as a career path.
So if it's a funnel, there's a difference between marketing and sales. Marketing is at the top
Yeah.
of the funnel, and then as it gets smaller, towards the bottom, you're dealing with people who've reached out, or people who, in my world, reach out for a consultation, fill out an application, get pre-approved without shopping for homes. Well, that's sales,
Yeah.
because you're doing one-on-one, but then the marketing is the big piece of the funnel. And so I think it's important that agents and lenders, business people in general, spend time on both
Yeah.
marketing and sales.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because if you're not marketing, the sales piece is going to be really, really small.
Right.
I just don't see enough people that are really, really focused on the marketing side of it and take it seriously.
Right. So if somebody's watching this and they want more information, how do they learn more? How do
Yeah,
they-
so
how do they-
a couple different ways. We've got a website, 180yourmarketing.com. And then follow me on social. You can send me DMs on social. And I'm one of the very few out there. Kevin Mochel, Mochel. There's not very many Mochels out there,
Right.
so really easy on all the socials to find as well.
Great.
Except for Twitter, X, because that's one I don't enjoy, so I don't put anything out there, right?
It's a cesspool.
It's just there's a lot of mean people there.
There are some mean people out there. I think that's where they all hang out.
Yep.
Listen, I appreciate all of the valuable information. And for those of you out there that have not been to one of Kevin's classes, I think I've been to 5 now, and they've all been fantastic. And I will say that Kevin's free classes have been more valuable than classes I've spent hundreds of dollars on.
Thank you so much.
There's an endorsement for Kevin. So yeah, if you have any questions, you know where to find Kevin. Feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help if I can. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Greg.